Welcome to Catalyst Chats, where leaders spark ideas, share wins, and tackle people challenges that shape the future of work.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Catalyst Chats. I'm Lindsey Hammer, and today I have the privilege of speaking with Matt Marino. Matt is the president at WinkPay. Matt, thanks for joining us.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'd love it if you wouldn't mind just sharing an introduction with our audience.
Sure. So I suppose the fun facts about me are I've lived abroad. I'm currently in Seattle, Washington. I'm a former engineer who turned to the dark
Okay.
side and then got into sales and business. And when I'm not in the world of fintechs and revenue go to market, I really enjoy competing and racing ultramarathons.
Nice. What is your longest distance run?
About 100 miles.
Wow. Okay. I am not a runner, and that makes me sweat.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to hear a little bit about some of the exciting work that you're doing at WinkPay.
Sure. So at Wink, what we're doing is effectively combining biometrics with payments. So allowing consumers, individuals, to pay with their face or their palm or their voice. And having spent 20 plus years, pretty much my entire professional career in fintech, both for startups as well as large Fortune 100 companies, I've gotten to know and appreciate the challenges and opportunities within the world of payment
Yeah.
processing, fraud management, payment security. And so there's this kind of unique window of time to create an application that merchants could deploy both at the point of sale and online that would enable consumers to check out more quickly, safely, and really enable merchants to reimagine the whole purchasing experience for whatever it is that they're selling.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think there's a lot of opportunity in that market and what you guys are doing to make people feel secure with payments, because I think that's something that a lot of people worry about now with technology and how quickly information can be taken.
Yeah, absolutely. Security, I mean, not, this is a Captain Obvious statement, but it's the bedrock, it's the foundation of
Yeah.
any financial services company, any payments company. And on top of that, I mean, for us to do biometrics effectively and not scare people off, we had to design things in such a way where not only is the payment payload being secured and transmitted in the right ways, but also when we look and analyze at someone's face or their palm, we're not actually taking a photo or an image of them,
Yeah.
but we're using biometric vectors. For example, on the face, it's like the distance between your eyes and your nose and your
Yeah.
teeth and your chin and your forehead and all that sort of stuff, using AI in a way to kind of anonymize that information, but ultimately linking it to an identity so that we can associate payment information to the right individual.
Very cool.
And of course, the benefit for merchants is it's much faster throughput at the checkout turnstile.
Yeah.
It's a more secure transaction, especially for those that are online, because you're eliminating fraud completely. Fraud is still pretty rampant, right? I mean,
Yeah.
about a half to 1% of all sales online are still fraudulent, so it's still
Yeah.
a big deal. It eliminates fraud completely. And I think for us, like the more exciting thing is seeing how merchants are being able to use this technology and create and enhance shopping experiences that just bring more value and I think excitement to consumers.
Yeah.
I mean, some very tactical use cases are we're seeing a lot of uptick in events and stadiums where
Oh,
they're now
cool.
using biometrics to identify you when you enter the stadium,
Yeah.
and then it's very easy to go and purchase, a burger and a beer and whatever else you want to buy. Venues is one avenue, quick service restaurants, hospitality, and being able to allow for transactions to happen where maybe there's not even another person involved.
Yeah.
So I think that's
That is cool.
the other component that's really gotten a lot of interest over the last year or two has been able to do all that, but also linking loyalty as well and being able to prompt users for loyalty rewards
Yeah.
and discounts. I mean, again, here in Seattle where I live, I go to my local coffee shop almost every single day.
Yeah.
They know me, they know what I look like, they know my order, and it's great. Like come in, they make my coffee, we have some small talk, and I just leave. And they have my card on file, like it's no big deal. Occasionally, they'll give me a free drink. And that works, but it works because they're a small coffee shop. And if you
Right.
try to operate that model at scale, it starts to break, right? You need to have the right sort of technology in place to really keep track of who's coming in and
Yeah.
providing people the right sort of rewards, incentives, and discounts for their loyalty.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure that's a interesting problem to solve for, scaling.
Mhm.
Well, what's your vision for the future of payments?
Well, certainly, like our vision is a world where the card credentials that we're all used to and familiar with today, the pieces of plastic that we have in our wallet, the 16-digit numbers,
Yeah.
are effectively going to be gone. And that's what we're planning for. And the leading indicators that we're seeing here are firstly that the card associations, so Visa, MasterCard, have said publicly that they plan to phase out the plastic. They plan to phase out the 16-digit card numbers. MasterCard has even gone on the record that this will be done by 2030. So it's a ways out, but it
Yeah.
means that in order for that to happen, a lot of things need to start happening now within the financial ecosystem. Then merchants getting customers more confident with being able to pay, on their phone or with biometrics. So certainly it's a world where the things that are tied to us as individuals, our bank account information, our insurance information, loyalty information, or whatever we have, are really more identity based and not, based on numbers.
Yeah.
So that's the future we're building towards. It's how we're helping merchants and other financial institutions today. And it's also where many governments, particularly second and third world, but some first world governments are applying and even mandating. I mean, we've seen this recently with India, with Vietnam, with Mexico, with many countries in Africa. We've sort of leapfrogged the whole, hey, we're gonna, send everyone a piece of plastic with your ID and face on it or whatever.
Yeah.
And they've just adopted a whole biometrics program as a
Okay.
way of managing the safeguards of the citizens of that country.
Yeah.
And with that, yeah, they've then allowing other financial institutions and resource, for health insurance and whatnot, to be able to like tap in and use that information
Yeah.
in a more, again, safe and compliant way.
Yeah. Well, as somebody who has a toddler who frequently takes my ID and my cards out of my wallet, I'm not going to be upset about maybe not needing a card in the future.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to understand more too. What do you see as the role of traditional banks playing in the open payments ecosystem?
Well, the role of traditional banks are certainly not going away, right? We as consumers need a way of feeling safe about where our money is, the investments that we're making. And the banks, whether they're here in the US or abroad, still have a tremendous amount of leverage, both with like the assets under management, but as well as like the services that they provide today. And so a solution like ours is completely complementary to what the card schemes have in place, as well as the technology, the underlying, terminals that are out there and payment gateways. And so it's certainly complementary to that entire ecosystem. One probably big challenge I don't think anyone has really solved yet is the growing idea and use case for agentic commerce.
Yeah.
So using AI and AI agents to make payments on our behalf.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I mean, a good friend of mine who travels to Europe quite a bit wanted he wanted to go to Rome, but he didn't want to pay above a certain amount, and so he created an AI agent to
Okay.
continuously be looking for flights, and if three seats fell below a certain value, to go ahead and purchase
Oh, cool.
three flights with information for him and two other people.
Yeah.
And and so that's like a really interesting use case, right? Because you've
Yeah.
given an AI application to go search for something and then make a payment on your behalf, and it's not quite clear yet. Like, okay, like do these agents need power of attorney to go and do those sort
Right.
of things? What happens if they make a mistake? What happens if they use the wrong card number?
Yeah.
And again, I don't have the answer for this. It
Yeah.
feels like there's going to need to be, again, link going back to this theme of identity, tying back these every payment transaction to an identity, but certainly giving a lot of food for thought for the entire financial ecosystem for agentic commerce, as well as some other things around stable coins and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
to your question around like is are the banks going away anytime soon? No way.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Did he end up having a flight booked?
He did.
He did? Well,
Yep,
how was the
he
flight?
did.
Did it all work out?
Yeah, the he booked the flight. He's not flown yet.
Okay. Okay.
But
I'll be
yeah, but
super curious to.
the agent made the booking, used his card. He initially at first thought it was fraud because he said he looked it up on his statement,
Yeah.
thought it was fraud, and then he remembered that several weeks ago he had this agent looking for flights.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I could see that being a big issue too, of like forgetting what
Yeah, I
all you
forget
put
like
out there if AI was going to make purchases. That's really
yeah.
interesting. Cool. Well, what are some of the biggest technical challenges that you face in building a company like Wink?
Yeah, our probably one of the biggest challenges was trying to decide, do we want to enter into like the hardware business or not?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we're all familiar with existing mainstream biometric applications like the big clear kiosks that
Yeah.
we see at the airport or at Whole Foods they have those palm readers for checkout. And we decided like that would be, we're a startup and we decided that like that is just too cost intensive
Yeah.
to get into the hardware space because it's hard enough as it is as a startup. And so what we sought to do then was make a AI biometric payment application that could be agnostic to the terminal. And the reception on that has been phenomenal because it
Nice.
means that merchants no longer need to swap out their old point of sale
Yeah.
devices for a new one. Effectively, like this application can run on any device that has a camera on it.
That's smart.
And so that ended up being like really the right call for us. There is software that still needs to be installed on the terminal, but the old ways of coming in, swapping out a old point of sale device for a new one, like that is no longer needed.
That's really
And so
nice.
that strategy so far seems to have played out well. Will we at some point end up selling our own hardware? Maybe, but more likely probably it's a year or two out.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I'm sure that's an easier transition process for your customers
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah.
Well, what are some of the success metrics that y'all focus on?
Well, I think gosh, I mean, for any fintech, for any SaaS company, the North Star metric is really, I mean, putting the financial metrics aside, like net revenue retention and things like
Yeah.
that, we really like to focus on, at the end of the day, like what's the impact that our solution is having for our clients.
Yeah.
And if we can think about even like from like our marketing messaging to our sales process to the customer success and renewal phases, always having um, impact in mind, then we're going to be good, right?
Yeah.
And particularly for fintech and for recurring revenue SaaS business, you can't expect to have recurring revenue if you're not delivering recurring impact. And so impact looks a little bit different based on the clients. I mean, for some it's faster conversion rates, for some it's larger basket size, for some it's more repeat usage. And so we talk through that initially in our sales cycle. But then, once the deal is signed and the customer is live and they've got like a supporting team, ensuring that they're getting that value that we communicated early on through the sales cycle.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Well, what advice would you have for other leaders, either in the finance space or outside the finance space that are working for startups?
Mm. It's an overused and perhaps maybe a cliche metaphor at this point, but go to market really is a team sport. And the idea of healthy revenue generation really is a combination of product, marketing, sales, customer success, and operations operating it not only as a team, but in my opinion, there's really three key pillars that are foundational to making that work. Firstly, it's everyone on that executive team having a really strong mastery of the unit economics and having just a really just healthy P&L fluency.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just have, say, the CFO and the CEO know the marketing budget or the sales budget, right? Once there's a kind of a broader awareness amongst the leaders of that team, all of a sudden it makes that team better stewards of capital. Secondly, I feel like there's really a need for businesses to have a common set of data and data hygiene for all the metrics that matter.
Yeah.
And particularly as a business starts to scale, and I mean, gosh, we're at 60 people now, but as businesses
That's
start to
awesome.
scale and people and resources and applications, it's easy for information to be siloed in different tools and different
Totally.
Excel files. So ensuring that the teams are measuring what matters and more importantly, using that same data repository, gosh, is so critical.
Yeah.
And then the last theme is ensuring that everyone has a clear understanding of like the architected customer journey and
Yeah.
knowing what happens from, that first lead, that first meeting, all the way through to, a successful, happy customer. And so often that might be clear to maybe a revenue leader, but has gotten lost on marketing or product or other folks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's huge. And I think one of the biggest challenges that comes with scaling is really making sure that communication is shared and shared understandings with data, like you said. I've seen that go wrong a few times or lead to quite a few misalignments.
hmm hmm
Any exciting wins that you can share?
Yeah, I would say like a couple exciting wins have been in well, there's some like product wins I'm happy to talk about, some client wins. One of the product wins for us that has been really exciting and we're getting a lot of traction on is the ability to understand age when we're doing the biometric checkout.
Yeah.
And as most of us in the US are familiar with, we all went through a process of updating our IDs over the last year, right? There's this real ID standard, which means that now there's a database of updated facial metrics that the companies like ours can tap into. And so now when you're at the ball game and you're buying a burger and a beer and you use your face to pay, not only do you not need to take out your wallet or your purse, but you don't need to take out your ID.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, age dependent sales, things like alcohol, cannabis, tobacco, gambling, anything that has an age requirement, we're able to do in real time.
That's cool.
And so that, yeah, that's pretty fun. And it's again creating some kind of unique use cases for how to sell these sort of
Yeah.
things. I mean, again, say what you will about, these sort of type of products. I remember, growing up being like a young kid and seeing those old rickety, like cigarette vending machines, with
Yeah.
like the pull tabs, you put in some quarters and out would come a pack of cigarettes. And then they went away, because anyone could
Yeah.
put in money and get cigarettes. But anyway, like long story short, we might start seeing more of those unattended type
That's
of
really
vending
interesting.
machines here in the near future.
Yeah, that sounds like really cool and interesting work, especially with just, I'm sure the complexities that come with that and like a lot of the regulations. And that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
I think gosh, well, we talked around like the importance of identity, kind of like this growing theme of agentic commerce. And I would say, yeah, lastly, on the kind of the theme with biometrics, a large part of it has to do with just our own individual comfort with it, right?
Yeah.
And for the merchants who are adopting, they are not mandating that consumers enroll, right? It's all there's an option.
Yeah.
And of course, like numerous studies continue to show that the most resistant demographic are seniors and boomers, right? They want to do something else. But pretty
Yeah.
much every other demographic would much rather give their face or their palm or their fingerprint compared to typing in a username and
Yeah.
password or doing some type of two-factor authentication. And so, yeah, my hope is that over time, more people get comfortable using
Yeah.
their identity for these sort of secure ways of paying and authenticating themselves. But in order for that to happen, right, tech companies like ours, as well as the financial ecosystem, the broader fintech ecosystem, needs to ensure that data is secure and safe and not susceptible to data breaches.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I think about that, and just thinking about my dad, for example, like he wants everything to be secure, and I think he feels most secure when things are done more like through paper and through like face to face. And I definitely see myself leaning more of the way of convenience. But it's interesting where the intersect of technology happens within that, of like being able to actually make things more secure, whereas face to face and on paper doesn't necessarily mean secure.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it, yeah, is just comfort, right? I mean, you probably unlocked your phone today with your face, you know? So there's a lot, all these, small things that are happening every day that we
Yeah.
kind of just take for granted.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate your time and sharing all of the really exciting stuff that is happening over at Wink.
You bet. Yeah, this was fun.
Thank you for listening to Catalyst Chats. Like, share, and don't forget to follow.